Lately, my husband had gotten obsessed with morning runs. But today, when he came home, something felt off. His underwear was different. Same color. Same style. Looked just as new. But there was one detail that didn't match. The pair he wore out this morning had a hole in the back. Chapter 1. When did you change your underwear? I was standing in the bathroom doorway, staring at the dark blue boxer briefs still on him. What? Chad grabbed a towel and instinctively shifted to cover himself. The pair you wore this morning had a hole in the back. This one doesn't. His hand paused for a split second as he dried his hair. Just a split second, so brief it could have been nothing. But I saw it. I didn't miss it. You must be mistaken. Why would there be a hole in perfectly good underwear? Chad tossed the towel onto the hook and reached for the clean pair stacked on the counter, another dark blue pair, identical to the one he'd just taken off. For the past 6 months, every single pair I'd bought for him had to be the same style, the same pattern. He said he liked the cut. Said it made him look bigger. I'd always thought it was just another pointless male obsession, like how he'd insisted all his shirts be the same white Oxford style, all his socks the same black cotton ones. Wait. Shirts? I glanced up at him. Once doubt takes root, it grows fast. I steadied my voice. Maybe I imagined it. I've been staying up late writing lately. Probably just tired. His shoulders visibly relaxed. Anna, you've been acting strange lately. Last week you thought I'd changed my phone password. The day before that you said I took a different route home. Now you're inspecting my underwear. Do you want me to book you a therapist? Gaslighting. I'd researched it for my crime novels. Make the victim doubt their memory. Their perception. Their sanity. Maybe I've just been under a lot of pressure. He reached out and patted my head, then walked into the walk-in closet and locked the door behind him. After a long while, he came back out fully dressed. Baby, you don't need to push yourself so hard. I can support you. If you're tired, take a break. Go out, relax a little. That was the line. The exact line. The one that had made me fall for him 3 years ago without hesitation. Back then, I just lost my parents. I was hollow. Empty. Not that I was poor. Before they passed, they'd put all the compensation money into a trust fund for me. The monthly returns alone were more than enough to last me a lifetime. But Chad didn't know that. I nodded obediently. Okay. After he left, I went into the closet and opened his wardrobe. Everything hung neatly in place. White shirts, 24 of them. But the purchase history clearly showed 26. One pair of underwear was missing. 2 pairs of socks. Even the ties didn't add up. Something was wrong. Where had they gone? Then I remembered how he'd casually offered to organize the safe for me yesterday. My heart skipped. I rushed into the study. The moment I opened the cabinet, I let out a long breath. Everything was still there. The commemorative coins, the gold bars, everything lay exactly where it should. Maybe I was overthinking it. He could have taken them to the office locker room, right? In our 3 years of marriage, he'd been the perfect husband. He remembered all my preferences, tolerated my moods, handed over every dollar he earned. A man like that, how could he be cheating? Chapter 2. I spent the entire morning in a fog, but in the end I still couldn't help calling my best friend. The moment she picked up, everything I'd been holding in spilled out. Chloe, I think something's wrong with Chad. I clearly remember his underwear having a hole this morning, but when he came back, it was gone. There was a 3-second pause on the other end. Then she burst out laughing. Oh my God, Anna, have you completely lost it? Chad and his obsessive habits? You really think he'd wear ripped underwear? He probably threw it away the second he noticed. I hesitated. But what? Chloe cut me off. You've been acting paranoid lately. Last month you were convinced his step count was wrong. Turned out his phone had just died. Chad is practically famous in our circle for being the perfect husband. Don't ruin it by overthinking, or you'll be running back to me crying again. After I hung up, I wandered back into the bedroom without even realizing it and pulled out all the underwear again. At the very bottom of the drawer, there it was. The pair with the hole. My hand started shaking as I grabbed my phone and called her back. Chloe, I found it. I must have mixed up the days. Maybe he wore it a few days ago. She let out a long breath. Thank God. You scared me. Do you really have so little trust in your own husband? My cousin was just like you, always suspicious. Ended up driving her six-figure-earning husband straight into divorce. I stared at the clean, neatly frayed edge of the hole. Something about it felt off. I couldn't quite say why. Before I could think it through, the front door suddenly opened. Chapter 3. Baby, I brought your favorite seafood stew. Chad stood in the doorway holding a takeout bag, sweat still clinging to his temples. I even took a detour to get it. I blinked. Lunch already? It's so early. He looked at me with that gentle, indulgent smile. You barely ate this morning. No appetite? You must be hungry. Eat while it's hot. And, by the way, think about what I suggested last time, okay? He leaned down, kissed the top of my head, and carefully slid the sauce dish closer to me. I promise you won't regret it. I looked up at him, so attentive, so considerate, and my nose stung. What was I even doubting? Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen but didn't open it. After we finished eating, he said casually, I might need to work late tonight, but I'll be home before midnight. Don't wait up. Go to sleep early. I nodded, a little disappointed. Okay. Don't work too hard. My fingers brushed against his phone on the table. The screen lit up again. Another message. Results are in. Come pick them up. It's serious. Chad grabbed the phone instantly, but I'd already seen the sender. The warehouse manager. Warehouse? I asked casually, continuing to clear the table. Yeah, right. Some company inventory got appraised. I need to go sign off on it. You take a nap this afternoon. I'll head out. After he left, I grabbed my keys without thinking. Appraisal results? For what? His car pulled out of the underground garage. Mine was parked outside, so I followed at a distance, keeping 3 cars between us. I told myself I was being ridiculous. That I just wanted to kill this ugly thought in my head and never think about it again. Chad was usually a careful driver. Today, he was restless, weaving through lanes, overtaking cars. I struggled to keep up. At the second intersection, he suddenly turned right. That wasn't the way to his office. Before I could react, a taxi cut in front of me. I had to stop. I watched helplessly as his black car disappeared into traffic. Damn it. I lost him already. When the light turned green, I drove around the area for nearly an hour. No sign of his car. In the end, I had no choice but to go home. He loves me. He has to. He really went to work, right? Chapter 4. When I woke up from my nap, it was already dark. I reached for the bedside lamp, but the light didn't come on. I checked my phone. 1% battery. Panicked, I called the building management office. The woman on the line said, we notified residents yesterday afternoon. There's scheduled electrical maintenance. Power should be back around midnight. Yesterday? I asked. I didn't get any notice. There was a pause. Oh, Chad came by and signed for it. He said he'd let you know. My heart sank. He knew the power would be out tonight, and he still chose to work late? He knew I was afraid of the dark, and he left me alone anyway? The unease from the morning came rushing back. My phone screen flickered, then went black. Dead. The wind outside, footsteps downstairs, even the occasional sound of water in the pipes made my nerves tighten. No. I couldn't stay here alone. I'd lose my mind. I grabbed my jacket and keys and decided to spend the night at Chloe's. I picked up some snacks and beer on the way and hailed a cab. Maple Grove Apartments, please. Right now, Chloe's place was the only safe place I could think of. By the time she opened the door, I'd been standing there for over 10 minutes. She was wearing a silk robe, her hair still damp, staring at me in surprise. "You're here. Why didn't you tell me?" "I was in the shower. There's a power outage at my place." I slipped inside, the familiar scent of her perfume washing over me. Her living room was a mess. Papers and makeup were scattered across the coffee table. A shopping bag sat half open, boxes visible inside. "Sit down. I'll go change." She bent to clear off the couch. I curled up cross-legged as soon as there was space. "It's so late. What if Chad comes home and you're not there?" "He doesn't care. He didn't even mention the blackout. I followed him this afternoon, he wasn't even driving toward his office." Chloe suddenly snatched the wine glass from my hand. "Are you insane? You followed your own husband?" Her voice shot up, then dropped. "Anna, listen to me. Chad treats you so well. You're probably just under too much stress. Here, have a drink. Relax." She kept refilling my glass and pushing it toward me. "Talk to Chad tomorrow. Don't jump to conclusions." I nodded. The alcohol blurred my thoughts. When I woke up on the couch the next morning, my whole body ached. Chloe was gone. A note lay on the table, "Breakfast is in the fridge." I went to work. I rubbed my temples and struggled to my feet, my head buzzing. My phone was still dead. I walked to the bathroom mirror to fix myself, then froze. The diamond stud in my left ear was gone. Chad had given it to me when we got married. I'd worn it every day for 3 years. I never took it off. I rushed back to the couch and tore off the cushions. As one of them hit the floor, something fluttered down. A dark blue pair of boxer briefs. There was a worn hole in the back. My breath stopped. Chapter 5. My fingers started trembling uncontrollably. The underwear slipped from my hand and fell to the floor. That hole, on the left side, the jagged edge, I recognized it instantly. It was the exact pair he had worn yesterday. My stomach twisted. I lunged toward the trash can and retched. My husband, and my best friend? The thought didn't finish forming. It didn't need to. Something exploded in my head. Fragments, small, scattered details, suddenly lined up, snapping into place. Chad and I had met through Chloe. Back then, my parents had just died. I was hollow, drifting through each day. Chloe had held my arm and said, "You need someone." And then Chad appeared. Gentle. Attentive. Always there at the right moment. Like something designed for me. Later, every time Chad and I argued, Chloe was the first to show up. She understood him better than I did. She cared about my feelings more than he did. When she told me to make up with him, it always sounded so convincing. He's only like that because he loves you. Where are you going to find a man this good? Now I understood. It had never been just 2 people. It had always been 3. I stumbled toward the bedroom, desperate to find more proof. The missing shirts and ties had to be in there. But when I turned the handle, it wouldn't move. Locked. I wanted to storm into his office and throw the underwear in his face, demand an explanation. As I picked up my bag, something black rolled out and spun across the floor. My recorder. The one I used for writing. A sliver of reason forced its way back in. I was acting on impulse. One pair of underwear meant nothing. Alerting them now would only give them time to get their stories straight. A plan began to take shape. I would peel back every lie myself. I would watch the truth surface, layer by layer. Chapter 6. When I got home, I plugged in my phone. The screen lit up, and a flood of unread messages appeared. From Chad. Anna, where are you? Why aren't you answering your phone? The power's out. I'm really worried about you. Call me the moment you see this. The last message had been sent 10 minutes ago. If you don't answer, I'm calling the police. I stared at the screen, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. The police? Really? Last night, while I was passed out on the couch, the two of you were probably having the time of your lives on the other side of the wall. And I was none the wiser. My phone vibrated. Chad was calling. I took a breath and answered. Anna. Where were you last night? Do you have any idea how worried I was? There was genuine panic in his voice. It even sounded like he was shaking. He was good. I rolled my eyes and kept my tone flat. My phone died. I stayed over at Chloe's. At Chloe's? He paused. Why did you suddenly go to her place? There was a blackout. I'm afraid of the dark. I said it lightly. You knew that. Silence on the other end. I worked late last night and forgot to tell you about the outage. His voice softened, full of apology. I'm sorry, Anna. That's on me. That was fast. It's fine. Just come home early tonight. I need to talk to you. About what? His voice sharpened. When you get back. I hung up. A second later, a message from Chloe popped up. Anna, are you home? You drank too much last night. Your stomach isn't great, remember to have some porridge. I stared at the screen and smiled coldly. Don't worry. I already did. Thanks again for last night. Chad wants to cook for you tonight to thank you, so come by after work. I sent the message, then immediately opened my laptop and started installing the cameras. Her reply came quickly. Oh. That's too much trouble. I set the phone aside. She would come. I opened the safe again, planning to take all the valuables to the bank. This house wasn't safe anymore. As I picked up one of the coins, something felt wrong. The weight. It wasn't right. I stuffed everything into a tote bag, grabbed my keys, and drove straight to the appraisal center. My father's old classmate worked there. Uncle Louis, could you take a look at these for me? I slid the coins across the counter. They feel lighter than they should. He put on his glasses and examined them with a magnifier. In less than half a minute, he looked up, his expression complicated. Anna, I'm not senile yet. Don't try to fool me with these high-grade replicas. They're plated. Copper zinc alloy underneath. My legs went weak. I had to grab the counter to stay upright. You're sure? I stared at the set of commemorative coins my father had given me. The ridges along the edges were slightly rougher than I remembered. The craftsmanship is good, he said. But the weight and density are wrong. He looked me over. Where are the real ones? The gold bars. I bolted home, tore open the bottom drawer, unwrapped the red cloth. 4 bars lay inside. When I picked one up, it was lighter than it should have been. Back at the appraisal center, the result was the same. Plated. Tungsten core. Tungsten is close to gold in density. In price, it isn't. Uncle Louis came out from behind the counter and steadied me. Anna, don't panic. Let's call the police. Whoever took your gold, we'll find them. I looked at him, then nodded. While we waited, I opened my banking app. The balance in our joint account looked normal. But when I filtered for large transactions, I saw them. Every 2 weeks, like clockwork. A $20,000 investment redemption. 3 months. Nearly $120,000 total. The worst part was, every transaction required a verification code. And I had never received a single notification. Then I remembered. A few months ago, Chad had accidentally broken my phone. The next day, he'd brought me a new one. I'd been touched by how thoughtful he was. I went into the settings and found the truth. All bank notifications had been quietly set to silent, automatically archived into a hidden folder. So that was how he'd been filling the holes in Chloe's family finances. He'd really gone to great lengths. Chapter 7. Chloe, my best friend, had always been the type who couldn't say no to her family. They drained her, over and over, and she let them. I'd warned her more than once. Told her that being too soft would only lead to disaster. Every time, she just smiled and said I didn't understand. She was right. I didn't. I didn't understand why someone would choose to be the other woman when she could be anything else. Once the surveillance system was in place, I moved on to the next step. I opened my laptop and waited. For the truth. For my truth. At 6:30, the front door opened right on time. Chad glanced around the entryway and called my name a few times. I picked up my phone and replied, "Make a few dishes. Chloe's coming over later. She let me stay last night. We should thank her." Chad grabbed his phone and called Chloe. "You're coming here for dinner?" I didn't hear what she said. He frowned. "What's gotten into her today?" Then, "Fine. Just, be careful. Don't come too early." He hung up. A moment later, my phone buzzed. "Okay, honey. Where are you? Come home early. I'm making your favorite." I snorted and set the phone down, continuing to prepare. At 7, Chloe finally arrived. She stepped inside and looked around. "Where's you-know-who?" Chad shrugged. "No idea. Call her." As she was dialing, I connected to the home camera and spoke. "Hi, Chloe." She flinched and dropped into a crouch. "Anna, what are you doing? Where are you?" I rotated the camera. "I'm here. Both of you, come sit down. I have something to ask." Chad stepped out from the corner. He exchanged a look with Chloe, then slowly walked over and sat on the couch. "Anna, where are you? What is this?" I let out a short laugh. "Open the coffee table drawer. There's a gift for you." They looked at each other again, then reached out and opened it. Chad's eyes went wide. It was a pair of underwear. The one he had left at Chloe's place. Chapter 8. He shot to his feet and rushed toward the camera, swearing frantically. "Anna, you've got it all wrong. This isn't what you think. Come back, I can explain everything." I gave a cold laugh. "Chloe, I treated you like a friend. And you treated me like an idiot. You didn't just steal my husband, you stole my gold. Do you have any idea how much that was? Enough to put you in prison for a very long time." They looked at each other, panic flashing across their faces. "What are you talking about? What gold? Don't accuse us like that. If you keep this up, I'll call the police." "Relax." "I already did," I said calmly. "Let's just wait. Right now, whoever leaves first is the most suspicious." They stared at each other, nerves on edge, like animals backed into a corner. Chad took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. "Anna, where are you? We're married. If there's a misunderstanding, we should talk it out face to face. We shouldn't be doubting each other. Chloe and I are innocent. You have to believe me." "Innocent?" I replied. "When you were moving on top of Chloe, was that what you were thinking too? And by the way," I added casually, "did you take your prophylaxis today?" "What?" He froze. I raised an eyebrow. HIV meds. Chloe didn't tell you? She's positive. Chad's eyes widened in horror as he stared at the woman in front of him. Chloe, what is she talking about? Innocent? With that reaction, you really think you can say innocent? Chloe lost it. She lunged at the camera, screaming, "You fucking bitch, Anna. What the hell are you talking about? Who the fuck are you calling HIV positive?" She ripped the camera off the wall and smashed it to the floor. It shattered. I immediately switched to the backup camera, hidden inside the curtain box. She wouldn't be able to reach that one so easily. Before I could speak. Smack. A sharp sound. Is what she said true? It was Chad's voice. Chloe clutched her face, staring at him in disbelief. You don't believe me? Just because of a few words from her, you're already judging me? Chad. I've been with you for 5 years. You're the only man I've ever been with. And you're doubting me? Chad seemed to snap back to his senses and reached out to comfort her. I cleared my throat. Ahem. Sorry, wrong script. Let's rewind. Chad jolted. His hand froze midair and pulled back instantly. He looked around, trying to find the source of my voice. That hand hung awkwardly in the air. 5 years? I continued. You two really pulled off a perfect long con. So tell me, whose idea was it? They both lifted their heads, still searching for me. Slowly, they moved toward the window. The infrared light blinked. I reminded them gently, this time, if you destroy the camera again, it pretty much confirms you stole the gold. Chloe snapped. She lunged forward, yelling, "Bullshit, Anna. That gold was fake from day one. You're a liar. A total fraud. Playing rich, playing classy, when you're nothing but a fake." She was panicking. She was finally panicking. Chad narrowed his eyes at the camera. Anna, come back. Explain yourself. Maybe I'll forgive you. I dug at my ear, wondering if I'd misheard. Forgive me? I said. And what exactly am I being forgiven for? Chad took a slow breath. Anna, who exactly are you? I sounded genuinely confused. Who do you think I should be? Chloe finally lost it. Looking up was uncomfortable, so she stepped on a chair and yanked the camera down, bringing it level with her face. Her chest heaved as she screamed, hands on her hips. Anna, you're dirt poor. The trust fund is fake. The gold bars are fake. Even the commemorative coins your parents left you are fake. Do you know how we've lived these past 3 years? Who do you think you're fooling, pretending to be some rich heiress? You. Ding dong. The doorbell rang. They both froze. Chapter 9. I switched to the front door camera. 3 police officers stood outside. One of them held up his badge. Open the door. Police. The camera in Chloe's hand slipped from her fingers and hit the floor with a sharp crack. I smiled. Oh, and one more thing. I gave my statement to the detectives half an hour ago. The amount's big. Prison time big. Chloe, I wasn't lying. The gold is real. The image shook violently as Chad roared, Anna, you fucking get back here. Then came Chloe's hysterical scream. Those gold bars were fake. Fake. A moment later, they were taken into the interrogation room. And I was already there. The moment they saw me, they looked like they wanted to tear my face apart. I stepped behind the officer. Officer, my husband has violent tendencies. Then I shot him a look. The officer warned him sharply. This is a police station. Watch your behavior. He opened his notebook and looked straight at me. Anna, can you confirm that the gold bars and commemorative coins in your safe were originally genuine? I nodded and took out a folder. These are the purchase certificates and appraisal reports from when my father bought them. Each bar has a serial number. You can compare them with the replicas that you recovered, the numbers match, but the material doesn't. The officer studied the documents, his brow furrowing. But the suspect, Chloe, insists you used fakes from the beginning. I laughed softly. Then why didn't she report me before? And those items were locked in my safe. How would she even know they were fake? Chloe's lips twitched. She pointed at Chad. It was him. That day he took one out. We were going to sell it, but the dealer said it was fake. I turned to Chad. Honey, that's not true, right? She must have tricked you. I don't believe a word of it. Then I looked at the officer. She's lying. My husband isn't short on money. He makes 6 figures. There's no reason for him to steal my gold. He must be innocent. Chad stayed silent, watching me coldly. Chloe completely lost it. Bullshit. Where does Chad get 6 figures? Most of that money is mine. Mine. I emptied everything I had just to support him. And you turn out to be a fraud? Officer, she's a liar. Arrest her. Her screaming echoed through the room. Finally, Chad looked up. His eyes were dark. Anna, are you done performing? I blinked innocently. Honey, what are you talking about? I don't understand. The officer rapped the table. Enough. Calm down. We're opening a formal investigation into the theft. Chapter 10. With the police involved, it didn't take much effort to obtain all the evidence of their affair. Investigators pulled 6 months of footage from the community cameras, elevator surveillance, and the smart lock at my front door. Chloe had been using the spare access card Chad gave her, letting herself into my home whenever I was out. Openly. Repeatedly. As for Chad, on the days he claimed he was working late, he was caught entering Chloe's apartment complex again and again, staying for more than 3 hours each time. Then the officers ordered both of them to hand over their phones. Every message was recovered. The entire scheme laid out in front of me, from beginning to end. It turned out they'd started circling me 3 years ago. Back when I just lost my parents. I was hollow. Drifting. Chloe had held my arm, her voice soft. Anna, you need someone. That was when Chad appeared. Well dressed. Polished. Attentive in just the right way. Like something tailored specifically for me. He's a finance guy, Chloe had whispered. 6 figures. Good personality. Good looking. And most importantly. She leaned in, lowering her voice. He's generous with his girlfriend. I nodded, dazed, looking at the gentleman in front of me and thinking, maybe this was fate's way of compensating me. Chad's pursuit was flawless. He remembered everything about me. I liked the seafood place on the south side. I hated cilantro. I was allergic to lily-scented perfume. What surprised me most was that after 3 months of dating, he handed me his bank card. Anna, he said, what's mine is yours. I froze. That's not necessary, is it? Chloe chimed in. Oh please, good men are rare these days. Chad is serious about building a life with you. He looked at me with earnest eyes. I just want you to feel secure. They wanted me to get used to controlling his finances. To let my guard down. So that after marriage, they could slowly start taking money from me instead. After we got married, Chad began bringing up investments. Baby, a friend of mine has a project. Guaranteed returns. Want to try? Anna, Chloe's brother started a company and needs short-term capital. The interest is great. Every time, I just smiled. I don't understand these things. Let's forget it. A shadow would pass through Chad's eyes, but it never stayed. That's fine. I was just mentioning it. Later, their messages were full of calculations. Why won't this woman budge? Until one day, I accidentally let Chad see the gold bars in my safe. His pupils shrank. His throat worked. These are. My dad left them for me, I said casually. My dowry. For our future child. That night, Chad and Chloe plotted under the covers until dawn. She won't invest, but that gold is worth a lot. Chloe sneered. Take some photos next time. We'll make a fake set and swap them. They're supposed to be for your son anyway. We'll just use them for now. I'm desperate for cash. And you need to hurry and get her pregnant. Once that happens, she'll be easy to control. After that, Chad started talking about kids constantly. Baby, let's have a child. Anna, my parents keep asking. They want a grandchild. Every time, I brushed it off. I'm taking supplements. Let's wait. I want to get healthy first and have a strong baby. Everything changed the day Chad helped me organize the safe. He secretly took out one coin and tested it. Fake. Chloe's messages were full of disbelief. They're all plated. Chad's face went pale. We've been played. But it was already too late. Because the first person to expose the truth was me. That night, because of the power outage, I had the perfect excuse to go to her place. When I walked in, I saw the mess everywhere. Light spilling through the crack under the bedroom door. I knew there was someone else inside. Was I drunk? I don't remember clearly. But I do remember calling several friends and telling them I was at Chloe's. That was the real reason my phone went dead. The chaos I caused that night bought me time. It cut off their chance to plan. But I also knew. The time for pretending was over. They no longer trusted me. And why should they? Chapter 11. In the end, the verdict came down. They were ordered to jointly compensate me $120,000, the value of the gold they had stolen. Chloe almost lost her mind. Right there in court, she threw down a stack of transfer records. $150,000. Every cent she had sent to Chad over the past 3 years to build him up. She'd worked 2 jobs, day and night, just to make him look successful. But even that was nowhere near enough to sustain the image. So she turned to private loans. And cash advances. Why did she choose this moment to expose everything? Because her debts had finally exploded. Give me my money back, she screamed, pointing at Chad. That's my blood and sweat. The judge barely glanced at her. You were co-conspirators in fraud. This money is criminal proceeds. The law does not protect it. She froze. And in that moment, she seemed to realize. They'd spent their lives hunting others. Only to be devoured by their own trap. Because Chad bore primary fault, 70% of our marital assets were awarded to me. His personal debts had nothing to do with me. The court froze both Chad's and Chloe's accounts, liquidated their assets, and fully compensated me for the stolen gold. At the same time, the court found Chad and Chloe guilty of theft and fraud. Chad, 7 years in prison and a fine of $50,000. Chloe, 5 years in prison and a fine of $30,000. And I, with the enforcement order in hand, walked out of the courtroom. Without looking back. Chapter 12. I liquidated every asset Chad had. I didn't even leave him his prized Rolex. Before leaving, I paid a visit to the prison. After all, they deserved to know exactly how they lost. In the visitation room, Chloe looked thinner. The moment she saw me, she lunged forward like a rabid animal. Her nails screeched against the glass. The guard immediately forced her back into her seat. I shook my head and sighed. Chloe, you really haven't grown at all. She screamed at me, calling me vicious, saying I'd plotted against them, that I'd die a horrible death. I smiled slightly. You know what? I'm actually grateful to you. She froze. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have succeeded this quickly. Her eyes widened, her lips trembling. What do you mean? I stood up, straightened my coat, and put on my sunglasses as if I were about to leave. Oh, right. I almost forgot to reintroduce myself. I turned back and smiled at her. My last name isn't Miller. It's Reed. Chloe's expression froze. You may not know me, I said softly, but you should know. Evan Reed. Her face drained of color. It was as if someone had grabbed her by the throat. She stopped breathing. Evan Reed. My half-brother. The one whose last life-saving money had been scammed away by their setup. The one who died in a hospital bed. And Evan. 7 days after my father's funeral. Jumped from the top of their company building. Now, watching the terror on Chloe's face through the glass, I slowly took off my sunglasses. Do you know something? My voice was very light. Evan sent you a message before he jumped. Chloe's pupils shrank violently. He said, I don't need the money. I'm begging you, just return my dad's medical bills. I leaned closer to the glass. And do you know what you replied? Chloe started shaking. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. You said, if you're going to die, go die somewhere else. I tapped the glass gently. Now I'm returning those exact words to you. The guard came over and signaled that visitation time was over. I stood up and gave her one last look. Enjoy your new home, I said calmly. The rooftop here has safety nets. I watched her face twist in horror. And finally, I smiled. 3 years, I said softly. Your debt is paid. Then I turned and walked away. Without looking back. Outside the prison gates, the early spring air smelled of fresh grass. I took a deep breath and dialed a number. Uncle Louis, thank you. His laughter came through the phone. So, kid. You're leaving?
Yeah.
I looked up at the clear blue sky. There's nothing left here worth staying for. His voice softened. Your father would be proud. I tightened my grip on the phone. My vision blurred. After hanging up, I took one last look at the high walls behind me. The hysterical screams. The carefully woven lies. The hatred carved into bone. All of it stayed behind those iron gates. In the past. I turned toward the parking lot. The sunlight stretched my shadow long across the ground. It was time to start a new life.